Hey guys, Chris here. Tonight we have part 3 of our series from Thomas from Mississippi, who lived along the Pearl River in the Honey Island swamp. He had 2 really frightening encounters in the swamp. And now this time, the one who doubted him the most, his father, has his own encounter. That's next. Okay, so I was out filming in the Nevada desert and I was having technical difficulties with my camera and the cold and the flip screen wasn't working, so I had to bag it and come in the studio. So I am in the studio tonight and it's nice and cozy in here. I kind of like it in here too. So tonight's beer is called Great White Beer, and this is a naturally flavored beer, Belgian wheat. And that is out of Eureka, California. And that is from the Lost Coast Brewery out there as well. So we're going to give that a try tonight. And we're going with the clear glass again tonight, just for the test though. Ooh, look at that. That is really a white, light, amberish beer. Check that out. Wow, look at that. I can see right through it. That is a Belgian wheat for sure. Let's give that a taste here. Oh, it's got almost a champagne kind of finish to it. It's definitely a beer, but it's more of an amber, light, white, very tasty. Very tasty beer, very light suds on it. There, you see that? And it's almost got a slight fruit aftertaste to it. Great white beer, I like it. Also, we have an enamel tin cup that I put together, 12-ounce cup. It's got my logo on the front. Keep hiking on the back there. And that is something I'm going to be selling down the road when I put my little shop together. So you guys, if you want to, you can support me and we have some products for you guys. I'm going to be doing some travel mugs, coffee mugs, embroidered hats, and other things as well. So I got some really cool graphics and art coming. So it should be a lot of fun. So I'll keep you in the loop on that, let you know. Okay, so our story takes place in 1978. This is 2 years after Thomas had his second encounter in the Honey Island swamp. Now, the Honey Island swamp got its nickname from the abundance of honeybees that were found on one of the islands. And this forms the border between Louisiana and Mississippi along with the Pearl River right in the middle. 250 square miles of wild and pristine swampland with feral hogs, deer, raccoon, foxes, migratory birds, great fishing, dense forest, and overhanging cypress trees. It's just really amazing country. They also have tours there, covered boat tours that go through the Honey Island swamp, and you can go right up to the alligators with these groups, and they give you all the information and history of the swamp. It looks like something I would really love to do. Now, Thomas wanted me to know this about his father, that he was a gunner on a transport ship during World War II. They had been in a fierce battle with some Japanese kamikaze pilots, and his father shot down several of them, but one of them finally broke through and crashed on the deck of the ship and was going straight for his gun turret. Then it exploded. And right before this happened, his dad turned and ran towards the edge of the ship and jumped, pulled his legs up into a ball and held his breath and went into the water, the Pacific Ocean. He didn't think he was going to make it. He came up and he was still alive. He was eventually picked up, unlike many of the servicemen that did not make it. The reason he told me this, He wanted to let me know that his dad was strong mentally and emotionally. And just not prone to foolishness is what he said. And he was really a fair man and taught Thomas to be fair and respect others and work hard. And he also spent a lot of time with Thomas hunting and fishing and life in general. So it was tradition in Thomas's family at Thanksgiving for the men all to get together and go hunting and fishing in the Honey Island Swamp. They would get together about a week prior to Thanksgiving, that Friday, head out in boats and go camp. And then they would come back Wednesday night, spend the day Thursday having Thanksgiving, go back Thursday night or Friday morning, and then come back Saturday afternoon in time to go to church on Sunday and then just relax on Sunday afternoon. So Thanksgiving 1978, the group that went on this hunting camping trip consisted of Thomas's dad, Thomas, two of his nephews that were old enough to handle the boats, and a couple of their friends. They took the boats up, went about 45 minutes up the river, found an island, set up their camp, enjoyed some time together, did the hunting, had a successful hunting trip, did a little fishing, just hanging out with the guys for Thanksgiving. They really enjoyed that. Wednesday came, and they were ready to head back. And Thomas's dad said, you know what, I think I'm going to stay up here. I'm just going to stay here for a couple of days because you guys all got your own plans for Thanksgiving, and I'll see you at Christmas when your mom and I will host Christmas. So he was looking forward to that, and he was fine with everyone taking off and going and doing Thanksgiving. Thomas was going to check on him the next afternoon, see how he was doing. And so his dad stayed there for a couple of nights. So Thomas's dad stood in the island watching as the boats trailed off in the distance. And suddenly it felt really quiet because it had been pretty loud the whole week there with all the activity going on. So this island that he was on was really kind of a long peninsula that had this really thick brush, dense trees, and bushes that were really impenetrable, with the exception of a few small game trails that weaved through them. And then the camp was in front of that. Night came. Thomas's dad stoked up the campfire, got the firewood ready, got the Coleman lantern going, got a steak going on the grill over the campfire, had a quarter moon up, and was looking forward to an evening of peace, or so he thought. Thomas's dad was enjoying his night, starting to get late, decided it's time to turn in, let the campfire go down, brought the lantern into the tent. He also said that it was foggy that night, so his father brought the shotgun from the boat into the tent with him. He was ready for sleep. He reached over and turned the Coleman lantern down. And what's nice about Coleman lanterns is they take about 40, 45, 50 seconds to completely for the globes to go down. So he gives you a little extra time to kind of situate yourself before you settle in for the night. He's laying there for about 30 minutes, and he hears down in the thicket, not too far away, but not really close either, this loud crashing sound right in the brush. And he's not super concerned initially. He's thinking maybe it was a feral hog or a deer breaking through the thicket and going into the swamp to feed. As he laid there listening, he could hear this thing coming closer to his camp, walking straight for him. And then it stopped right about where he had cooked his dinner earlier that evening. And he could hear one of the pots clanging against another one. Like whatever this thing was, reached down and picked it up and was checking it out, now eating out of it, whatever the remains were. And held it out and dropped it. He could hear it drop on the ground. And he'd cooked some corn, mashed potatoes, and he had his steak in a little frying pan. He heard this again, this kind of clanking around, and then something eating out of the pot and then dropping it. This got his attention. He was really starting to get concerned and afraid, and he reached over and grabbed his shotgun and slid it over next to him. Now the only light was a quarter moon. The fire had long gone out. There was just a few embers, and the Coleman lantern was off. Thomas's dad carefully and quietly stood up with the shotgun, now listening intently to see what this thing's going to do. He could hear it walking towards the tent, getting louder. Right then, as it approached the tent, it brushed along the side of the tent. He could see the tent move in, and whatever this thing was large and just standing outside of the tent. Now, Thomas told me that this tent his father was in was his tent. It was a circular tent, about 8 feet by 8 feet, 6+ feet tall. It was tall enough for Thomas to fit in comfortably, height-wise. Pretty good sized tent. Now, as Thomas's dad related this next moment, Thomas could see a chill run down his face as he said that he saw a large hand rub across the top of the tent. And he could see the hand pressing down. And Thomas said, "What did you do?" And Thomas's dad said, "I was filled with fear, but I took the shotgun and I took it and I hit the sidewall of the tent and I hit whatever this was in the leg. And this thing jumped back. He could hear it jump back, and it growled at him." Thomas's dad is standing there, filled with fear, just listening to this thing growling just a few feet away, just on the other side of the tent. And he's about ready to shoot through the tent wall. And then it's quiet. And he's listening just to see what's going to happen. And he's just waiting for anything and ready for anything. And then he hears this thing slowly walking back into the brush. And he reluctantly said it sounded like it was on 2 feet. And then it got quiet. Now this spot in the Honey River is very remote, very hard to get to. The only way to get there is by boat, and it's all backwater, swamp, just thick tangle of brush and islands. And Thomas's dad knew it wasn't just a person walking around his camp. He knew it couldn't be. He sat in his tent and didn't even try to sleep, and he just waited and listened the rest of the night for anything. He didn't hear anything. Finally, the sun came up. Thomas, that afternoon, came up in the boat to check on his dad. He brought him some Thanksgiving dinner, had the turkey and ham, mashed potatoes, pumpkin pie, had tinfoil over the top. Landed the boat, got out, brought it up to his dad, said Happy Thanksgiving. And right away he could tell something was wrong with his dad. He had this demeanor that was down. And he asked him, "Dad, are you okay?" And he said, I'm fine. And Thomas knew he wasn't fine. He knew his dad. He asked him again. I said, "Dad, something's wrong. What is it?" And Thomas's dad reluctantly, but finally, related his story to Thomas. He told him how this thing had approached his camp. He told him the fear that he felt when it was just standing just on the other side of the tent wall, and he was standing there with his shotgun. He told him how he had waited throughout the rest of the night for the sun to come up. The only thing he didn't tell him was, "Now I understand what you went through with your 2 encounters." He didn't say that. He didn't acknowledge that. Thomas was okay with that. Thomas felt vindicated because his father at least told him his story and didn't deny that. He told him, Thomas's dad told Thomas very clearly what happened and how it made him feel and what went down. But Thomas knew his dad. His dad was a strong-minded man to a point of being stubborn, really, in my opinion. But he loved his dad and he knew his dad, he was okay with it. He felt, again, vindicated. And I looked up vindicated. It said to be cleared of doubt or suspicion. And Thomas felt like cleared of this. He wasn't going to be like this story in his family of this person that had this weird encounter that he occasionally talks about. He felt cleared from that. And he felt he could relate to his dad better now. But it's interesting because I've talked to many people with my YouTube channel, viewers that have sent me stories. I've talked to them on the phone, and there's a number of them who the people that are closest to them doubt them. And they have their story, and it happened a long time ago, and the story doesn't change. Like, for instance, like something happened in 1992, and there was a story, and over the years it hasn't changed, it hasn't been elaborated on, and they're not known for lying, and they don't have a new story every week, and every month there's something else that happens, and over time the story changes. They have their story, and they can relate that story again and again and again because it's just burned in their memory, and that's the only one they have, or unless they've had more than one encounter. But my point is they don't, their story isn't constantly changing to create doubt or suspicion. And these are the people that care about him the most, and sometimes they're doubted, and that's got to be really hard. I can't imagine what that would feel like. You could at least say, you know what, I don't know whatever you've been through or what you experienced, but you experienced something, and it was very hard for you, very traumatic for you in a lot of cases. And so I believe in you. I don't necessarily have to believe in this whole story, but I believe in you at least in enough to listen and try to understand what you went through before I make some kind of a judgment about you. So I know there's people that kind of carry these stories by themselves in some cases, and it's got to be pretty difficult to do. So Thomas was okay with that, and he did feel vindicated. So thank you, Thomas, for your 3 stories for my channel here and for our viewers on the Basecamp Chris show. And I am looking forward to getting out some more. I got to get my camera working so I can handle the cold, but with my hot tent. And I'm thinking about also getting an inflatable cabin and putting my stove in that. That would be a lot of fun. So, all right, I want to say Merry Christmas to you guys. And we will talk to you soon. And also, if you guys like stories about the strange, unexplained, and things that go bump in the night, please like and subscribe. Do that. And I always appreciate your comments. You guys are awesome. And you send me some great comments. I always appreciate that. So thank you. And we will see you in the next one. As always, keep hiking.